Hello, my name is Ripley. Welcome to the video.
What's up, schmucks? So about a year ago, I reviewed Big Mouth Season 3 as a second video to come out of my channel reboot, and if you saw it, you know that I hate this show. So today, I review Big Mouth Season 4, and we can see if a year of creative juices could turn this show into something watchable. Before we get going, I want to say that for the month of December, I will be reviewing one Christmas movie per week. Last week, I started the Christmas marathon with the Santa Claus, and this week will be The Murder of the Polar Express because I think it sucks. I also have a reoccurring podcast called the G-Words Podcast I do with my friends, where we discuss a whole plethora of things. Recently, we did a Star Wars episode, and the links are down below, so if that interests you, feel free to check it out. Alright, let's get into this. Big Mouth is back with its 4th season. This season starts right off the back of Season 3, and it continues to follow its ensemble of 13-year-olds as they discover who they are, I guess. When this show started, it was about teens going through puberty and maneuvering middle school while puberty affects them in various ways. The problem is that premise only goes so far, and now the show isn't about it anymore. This season tries to tackle just as many issues and topics as Season 3 did, but it does it just as poorly. They discuss being trans, being gay, feeling pressured by life, not listening to the wants and desires of women, race and culture identity, and anxiety. Anxiety was kind of teased as the big villain this season in the form of the anxiety mosquito, but I'll talk about her later. This season doesn't reach the heights of Season 1 as low as they were, but it also doesn't reach the lows of Season 3. This season is kind of middling, and it's just really boring. I watched half of it in one sitting, and then the latter half in the second sitting, and I was bored throughout all of it. It's not even fun to make fun of anymore. It's just bland. The season is a lot of talking, but without actually saying anything, if that makes sense. It tries to take these stances on issues without actually taking a stance. So it brings up an issue, but then it never speaks on it meaningfully. This season is also the most disturbing. There's a lot of naked 13-year-olds, and there's a lot of these underage children doing sexual things or joking about it. Like, that's always been a thing in this show, but it's so much more grotesque and in your face this season. Honestly, you could probably bring in every animator on child pornography charges if you really wanted to. Watching this show makes me feel dirty, and I don't like that. The show constantly says, oh, they're children, this is gross, eee. But then it has them jerk each other off or get naked or talk about sucking off Donald Glover. Acknowledging that you want to watch 13-year-olds fuck doesn't excuse that, you fucking idiots. I hate when writers think acknowledging criticism in their show or movie excuses that criticism. It doesn't. That's just lazy writing.
Oh, like, what's the target audience for Cafeteria Girls?
I know. I mean, the main characters are kids, but the show is so filthy.
It's too much. And I like dirty stuff.
That fuck gremlin is really unpleasant.
It's uncalled for.
You don't need to be gross to be funny.
You said it, Maury.
Also, who is this show made for? It has too many adult references to movies and TV and pop culture that middle schoolers probably won't get it, but there's also significant references to pop culture that adults wouldn't get. And also, any adult watching this show, myself included, could probably be arrested for child pornography. This show isn't made for anyone, and it doesn't have a demographic. It's just a show that exists and some people watch it. At least Sex Education has a clear audience in high schoolers, and it maintains a tone of consistency that caters to them. Big Mouth can't do this, and it results in a show that doesn't know who to entertain, and effectively, it entertains no one. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I really hate this show's animation style. It's just unappealing in every fucking way. But early in this season, this show has the audacity to try and criticize The Simpsons animation style, which actually pissed me off. There are repeated jokes about how the male characters aren't listening or paying attention to the female characters, which feels like a stance the show wants to make on how women's opinions aren't valued, but the show then swerves and has no payoff to any of that. So it feels like the show is saying, keep it up, men, women's views aren't important, and there's no repercussion to treating them like shit. You go, guys. When I reviewed Season 3, I said how Nick, Andrew, and Matthew were the worst characters on the show, while characters like Jay, Jesse, and Gina really shined. This season, Andrew, Matthew, Missy, Maury, and Jesse were all very enjoyable, while characters like Jay and Lola felt unimportant and tacked on, and Nick is just the fucking worst. He sucks so hard. He's one of the most unlikable protagonists I have seen in anything in a long time. Gina isn't even in this season. She shows up twice and has one spoken line, probably because Gina Rodriguez said the N-word or something, I don't know. Matthew was a real standout this season actually. I found his story to be very engaging and mostly entertaining. This show's handling of a gay kid talking to his mom about it was very well done, I must say. I'm not a gay man myself, so I can't say that it was done entirely accurately, but it felt real and I appreciated that. Maya Rudolph is still the best part of this show, but she and the other hormone monsters are hardly involved this season. They're here and there, but because the characters aren't really dealing with puberty or hormones anymore, the monsters have nothing to do. So they just kind of show up, say a joke, and then they're kind of gone. There's a future episode halfway through the season, which is like a, oh, look at what could be type episode, and it sucks. It's useless and dumb, and it's unfunny and boring, and I hated it. This season also has fewer musical numbers than season 3, but they're all just as bad, so it's not like it matters. So I guess we should discuss the anxiety mosquito. Anxiety was teased as the main villain of the season, as it was gonna affect every character and make them, you know, have anxiety. But it only really goes after Nick and Jesse in meaningful ways. Andrew a little bit, but barely. I actually really liked how anxiety was portrayed as an annoying little mosquito that can't be killed. Nick tries it, but it just kind of comes back. A little while after, they seemingly defeat the anxiety mosquito, and that upset me. But then it comes back a little while after, and I thought that was actually very well done. Anxiety is like that. It'll make your life a fucking nightmare until you feel that you've overcome it, and then it's smooth sailing right until it inevitably comes back to haunt you. So I must commend this show for its take on anxiety. I've also come to notice that every 10th episode of each season is usually the worst one, but that wasn't the case here. The 10th episode isn't very good, but it's not the worst of the season, and it's the most watchable of the season finales. The last thing I want to mention is that this season feels very Rick and Morty inspired. There's a lot more grotesque and bloody imagery akin to Rick and Morty, as well as heavy use of references, also akin to Rick and Morty. I hate comparing this show to a much better one, but hey, lack of game respects actual game. So with unfunny jokes, barely likable characters, a completely misplaced premise, and an unwillingness to effectively speak on important issues, Big Mouth Season 4 is pretty terrible. It's just so middling and boring that it's nothing. I would much rather a big swing and a miss than no swing at all. I wish this show took risks. Instead, it settled into sex jokes, hot topics, and cheap shots. Please don't watch this show. It's because retards like me keep watching it that it keeps getting seasons, so hopefully if we stop, they'll stop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a fantastic day.